back to Project 45's YouTube channel, and today we are on our second episode for English Language and Literature SL, and today we are going to be talking about thesis statements. So for a quick starter task, I have a spot the problem and spot the real thesis statement. Our first statement is The Great Gatsby emphasizes the significance of the American dream in the 1920s. Our second one is through Gatsby's obsessive pursuit of Daisy, Fitzgerald exposes the emptiness of the American dream. So one of these is a thesis. For those of you who don't know, it is the second one. I will explain why in a little bit. One of these is a thesis. The other, this one, will tank your IB grades. So let's fix that really fast. So a thesis is basically your main argument for an essay. It is essentially the backbone of any good level 6, level 7 essay. And it is usually one of the first sentences you'll see in the intro. But I just wanted to quickly clarify the difference between a topic sentence and a thesis statement. So your thesis is your main argument, as I said already. Your topic sentence is like a mini argument, but it backs up your thesis. I will do another video on topic sentences, so don't feel too worried if you don't get it now. But these are essentially mini arguments that back up your main argument. If you have a weak thesis, your essay basically slouches. So today I'm going to show you exactly how to build a thesis that stands tall and drags your examiner along for the ride so your examiner knows exactly what's coming next. So what makes a thesis IB level? Right? So the first thing is that your thesis is a claim. It's not a summary. It's not a summary, guys. This is really, really important because you're not telling your examiner what happened in the text. You really aren't. You're making a point and you're going to be arguing that point throughout the essay. The next thing is your thesis has to be really precise. That means no fluff, no waffle, at least none that the examiner can detect. The next thing is has to be arguable. So that means that somebody could, if they wanted, disagree with your thesis. Will they? Probably not, because your thesis will probably be very valid, but they could if they so choose. And the next thing is it has to be somewhat insightful. Now this links back to my first point. Your thesis cannot be obvious. It cannot be something that the author has already said. It has to be your own interpretation. If you're summarizing the text, you're honestly not going to get a very, very good grade in English. Think of it as dropping a pin on a Google Maps saying, we're going here. This is the conclusion I'm leading you towards, and here's the road we'll take. Okay. I'm not going to leave you all by yourself, though. There is a little formula that I have come up with it's a 3-part formula, 3-step formula, on how to write a good thesis statement. The first thing is what. So you're trying to answer what the author says. So here is where you develop your theme or your idea. So basically the topic that you're going to be discussing for the rest of the essay. The next thing is how. So you're going to talk about how it's said. How does the author present it? Now this could be through techniques, structure, language, or even like setting in some cases. The next thing you're going to talk about is why it matters. Now you might think, oh my god, what relevance does this have to the real world? But the reason you're studying it is because it does. And if you still don't think it has a relevance, make one up, okay? So you're not going to talk about the effect, significance, or basically key takeaways, right? And you're going to combine these into 1 or 2 clean sentences. Right, so now I'm going to show you a good Gatsby thesis statement, and I'm going to show you why it works as a thesis statement, right? So this could come up in your paper too, and say the prompt is, how is wealth presented in The Great Gatsby, right? So this is a really, really good thesis statement. Why? Because it has all 3 parts of the formula. So it says, in The Great Gatsby, Fitzgerald presents wealth as a corrupt facade by contrasting lavish imagery with moral decay, ultimately revealing the American dream to be hollow. So what is easy? Presents wealth as a corrupt facade, right? Your next thing is how. So how does he do it? It's a contrast, so that's your technique, between lavish imagery and moral decay. Easy, all done. The next thing is why. So it reveals how the American dream was hollow. Easy peasy. 3, it's literally one sentence and it tells you exactly what you need to know. It sets a clear direction for your essay. And yeah. Now here are some bad examples. Gatsby is about love and money. So first of all, this is too vague. And it has no stance. So you're not really arguing anything there. You're just telling me what the book is about. And it's not even an insightful, sentence into what the book is about. Most books are about love and money. The next one is something I've seen a lot of people do. It's the author uses imagery, symbols, and colors. First of all, it's not specific to the book at all. I mean, I'm sure Fitzgerald used imagery, symbols, and color, but this is just not specific whatsoever. This could be for any book. Your thesis statement should contextualize the argument. And furthermore, it's a list, which examiners hate, and also it's got no argument. Don't be afraid to just talk openly about what your argument is in an essay. If your thesis basically could start a YouTube apology video, rewrite it. So now I'm obviously not going to leave you all alone. I am going to talk you through how to do a thesis statement. We're going to do one together. So say our question was, discuss how Fitzgerald uses setting to develop character. I do want to say here, we are doing Gatsby currently at school. If you haven't read Gatsby, don't worry about it. You can apply this to basically anything. So the first thing I'm going to do is a quick brainstorm about the settings used in the book. I'm going to talk about the East Egg versus West Egg. What does that show? That shows class divide, because I can't remember. Is it the East Egg that's poor? There's one side that's really, really poor, and there's one side that's really, really rich. Then you have the Valley of the Ashes, which is where all the poor people within the book lived, so everyone from a lower societal class, and they are basically ignored by the rich living in the East/West Egg. So it shows moral decay on the part of the rich. Cool. Can we come up with one more? Okay. Yeah, Gatsby's mansion. Ooh, yep, Gatsby's mansion. So, for those of you who don't know, Gatsby threw huge parties within his mansion, and basically it showed how being rich was a performance. So it shows performative identities. Cool. Now I'm going to plug this into my formula. So we have our what? We have our how, and we have our why. Our what is the setting exposes illusions. And by that I mean the illusions of the characters' identities. How does he do it? Let's say contrasting settings. Okay, let's not repeat the question. Let's go. Contrasting geographies. And symbolic landscapes. So, symbolic landscapes. And why does he do this? He reveals the fragility. You could say he reveals the superficiality. You could say basically whatever you want. I'm going to talk about how he reveals the fragility of self-invented. I can't write today. Invented identities. Cool. So let's type this up into a proper thesis statement. It might need a little bit of cleaning up, but I think we could do it. Okay, so let's try type one up here. We could talk about, okay, so basically what we're trying to do is we're going to put our what, how, and why into a sentence. So we're going to say through stark contrasts between the East eggs opulence and the Valley of Ashes. So, why is this not working? Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna write it out. We're gonna talk about through stark, this is our thesis, by the way, contrasts between the East egg's opulence, or we could say the East egg's glamour, and the Valley of Ashes okay, so the Valley of Ashes, oh sorry, we're back. My Microsoft whiteboard is acting up. Ashes, Valley of Ashes, bleak wasteland. We can talk about that. Fitzgerald, okay, so what's he trying to show? This is our why. Exposes moral emptiness underlying, we could talk about the time frame here to show that we know what we're talking about, underlying the self-invented identities of the Roaring 20s. And there you have it, really. That's a perfect thesis statement. It can be the backbone of any good level 6, level 7 essay. And yeah, so just before I let you guys go off and write your own thesis statements, here are some final tips I had and traps I've seen students fall into. So the first thing is the shopping list trap. Please, 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 the last thing you want to do is do this. So it's basically when you list stuff. So you go metaphor, similes, tone. You do not want to do that in your thesis statement. That is the last thing you want to do. It really puts off the examiner. And yeah. One other tip I have is to use assertive verbs. So what do I mean by that? I mean, talking about the author critiques, or the author exposes, or the author depicts, etc., etc. I'm sure you can come up with far more than I have. And the next thing I want to say is keep it short. Genuinely, your thesis statement does not have to be a whole paragraph long. Sometimes keep it short, not short. Sometimes, even in my best essays, my thesis statements have been like 1 sentence, 2 sentences max. So keep it short. Make sure you're not waffling for too long. And yeah, that is pretty much it for your thesis statements. I'm gonna zoom out and show you guys the full screen. We've done a lot of work today. But yeah, go smash them thesis statements, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.